गगनस्य नेता प्रथमस्य पायोरजातवेदो बृहतः सुप्रणीते।
Mantras of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, keep your aspiration ardent and sincere, and never forget that you are the child of the Divine. It will prevent you from doing anything unworthy of the Divine children. With always our love and blessings, says our Divine Mother. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 4, The Book of Birth and Quest, Canto 4, The Quest, page 428. The world ways opened before Savitri. At first, a strangeness of new brilliant scenes peopled her mind and kept her body's gaze. But as she moved across the changing earth, a deeper consciousness welled up in her. A citizen of many scenes and climes, each soil and country it has made its home. It took all clans and peoples for her own, till the whole density of mankind was hers. These unfamiliar spaces on her way were known and neighbors to a sense within. Landscapes recurred like lost, forgotten fields, cities and rivers and plains. Her vision claimed like slow recurring memories in front. The stars at night were her past brilliant friends. The winds murmured to her of ancient things, and she met nameless comrades loved by her once. All was a part of old forgotten selves. Vaguely or with a flash of sudden hints, her acts recalled a line of bygone power. Even her motion's purpose was not new. Traveler to a prefigured high event, she seemed to her remembering witness soul to trace again a journey often made. A guidance turned the dumb revolving wheels, and in the eager body of their speed, the dim mask-hooded godheads rode, who move assigned to man immutably from his birth, receivers of the inner and outer law, at once the agents of his spirit's will, and witnesses and executors of his fate.
महाभयविनाशिनि त्राहि मां देवी दुष्प्रेक्ष्यै शत्रुणां भयवर्धिनि सर्वस्वरूपे सर्वस्ये सर्वशक्तिसमन्विते भयभ्यस्त्राहि नो देवी दुर्गे देवी नमस्तुते। ॐ यस्मिन् सर्वे यतः सर्वे यः सर्वः सर्वतश्च यः यश्च सर्वमयो देवस्तस्मै सर्वात्मने नमः। देवस्तस्मै सर्वात्मने नमः। तामुपे शरणं परमेश्वरी तामुपे शरणं परमेश्वरी तामुपे शरणं परमेश्वरी सर्वरूपमयी मीरा सर्वं मीरामयं जगत् ॐ गुरुभ्यो नमः ॐ देवेभ्यो नमः ॐ मीरा श्री मीराय नमः स्मरन् नित्यं मीरा मीराक्षरद्वयम् स्मरन् नित्यं मीरा मीराक्षरद्वयम् स्मरन् नित्यं मीरा मीराक्षरद्वयम् मीरा श्री मीरा श्रीमीराय नमः श्रीमीराय नमः
Words of our Divine Mother, taken from the collective works of our Divine Mother book, The Mother's Luminous Gaze. Our Divine Mother says, "This gauge is the gauge of the Supreme, united by an interdependence in a fusion with the consciousness which reflects the beauty and ananda of existence without deforming it. From this look emanates the joy of existence, the power of manifestation of the eternal truth, the divine compassion, the love of perfect union, the benevolence without limit, as well as the wrath of God. These eyes," says our Divine Mother, "these eyes communicate directly to your soul. It becomes like a bridge, and I transmit the force. It passes directly from my eyes like a ray of light." Our Divine Mother says, "You know, if you could look straight into my eyes, concentrate truly without moving, without thinking of anything, and with an intense determination to unite with my consciousness, to be in relation with this intensity of force which emanates from me through my eyes, then I can do much. If you are receptive, if you can absorb by remaining absolutely calm and concentrated, aspiring to identify yourself with me in an irresistible call towards this perfect union, you can be sure that silently I can lead you towards this unification with me just by the intensity of the force emanating from this look." Our Divine Mother says, "I work a lot. I do many things with these eyes which reflect the soul. These eyes communicate directly with your soul. It becomes like a bridge, and I transmit the force. It passes directly from my eyes like a ray of light, invisible for those who have not developed the inner vision. But it is in this way that I communicate and work to change the consciousness, the attitude, and to illuminate and guide it for the total progress of the persons whom I see." There are all sorts of methods that I use according to the individual cases. Our Divine Mother says, sometimes when I hear from far a prayer, a call, a sentiment, an ardent devotion, even a mental formation, a sincere aspiration or a vibration, then I concentrate deep within myself to distinguish better and judge the magnitude of this aspiration or this vibration. And when it appears in my inner vision, there it is as clear as I see you in front of me just now. I hear everything and I send the answer. Our Divine Mother says, it doesn't get formulated. It does not take time. It is spontaneous, aimed directly at the person who's calling me, and the work is accomplished. It is in a total comprehension that the work is done. You see, it is indirectly direct. But I would say it is more effective and total because it is with the truth of His being that I communicate. There is no resistance there. I do not have to pass through these mental, vital, and physical layers. And then the Divine Mother gives a gesture, or the psychological formations, habits, social customs, or spiritual deviations, nor the resistance of matter, of ignorance, of inconscience, or even of nature which resists my intervention. Like this, it is direct in a perfect and mutual understanding without an intermediary. The work of putting the peace, the light, or the love is accomplished in an instant. You understand? You are all tied to my consciousness in my universal being, in my original form, which is more true and real, united by a spiritual interdependence where all the barriers crumble. Our Divine Mother says, I envelop you like this. Our Divine Mother gives a gesture in a big, or rather in an enormous spear. I protect you all against any mishap or attack. I cradle you, I take care of you, I teach you and guide you constantly so that you may live a pure and healthy life devoid of all plan and suffering, in a constantly progressive blossoming which leads to the new creation. You do not know how much you are all a part and parcel of myself, that I consider all of you as the precursors of the new race. Our Divine Mother says, my child, this is the truth that I see, the true sense of your existence. There, the question of why or how does not arise. What a good fortune, my child, to be able to participate in this incomparable and unforgettable event. Once one has experienced a little of this phenomenon, it is a complete redemption. My child, this is what all of you are for me, and even more, which I cannot describe in words. My child, this is what I see unrolling before my eyes like a cinema, but as concrete and real as my terrestrial existence. Our Divine Mother says, my child, I can gaze and gaze without wavering, and my gaze merges into the immensity and eternity of space where time does not exist. My gaze explores beyond all things, beyond all existence, beyond all known realities, and leads towards that inexhaustible vastness where truth remains inexplicable, where nothing is formulated, yet everything emanates from there. Our Divine Mother says it is the source and the origin of all terrestrial or ultra terrestrial existences, even beyond the manifestation, something that cannot be expressed. Yet, it is the essence of an experience that have been lived. You know, when I look and concentrate intensely, it is no longer I who look, but the Lord who looks through my eyes. Then I do not see any outer appearance, any material thing. All disappears from my view except the soul of the things with which I communicate, and that tells me everything in an instant. It is so clear, so precise in a perfect perception, invariable, spontaneous, and true. In His vision, I see pass in front of me the things which have no real similarity to the things I usually see, but it is real and unseized by the eternal will. This look can arrest the course of events, change destiny with an unforeseeable power, annihilate the forces which oppose, create what is necessary for the new creation, and preserve what needs to be transformed to collaborate with the divine. Our Divine Mother says, this gauge is the gauge of the Supreme, united by an interdependence in a fusion with the consciousness which reflects the beauty and ananda of existence without deforming it. From this look emanates the joy of existence, the power of manifestation of the eternal truth, the divine compassion, the love of perfect union, the benevolence without limit, as well as the wrath of God. This look of the divine consciousness, in which love pours itself in an unending flow to save the world by an infinite compassion towards men and creatures without distinction, in a self oblivion which leads by waves of immortal joys, radiating the symbols of the infinite, which go back to the origin. This look, born on the borders of two marvelously astonishing worlds between the unknown and the invisible, lives in the powerful light of the suns which shine within in the deep caves. It sees beyond the worlds, and these common things communes with the powers that build the worlds and enter into the depths where secretly the aspiration is born, because this look has broken the hidden seals. Our Divine Mother says, these eyes are like illumined mirrors, seized by an unfathomable delight and love, pouring in an interminable flow. This vision climbs back to the high summits where the Spirit soars in the joy and harmony of the heavens of the eternal truth. The spirit of beauty expresses itself in these eyes. This gauge, full of divine compassion, absorbs all the sufferings and pain and miseries of men and the creatures of this ruthless nature, dominated by the anti divine forces, and renders them pleasant, loving, habitable, without which this world would be a veritable hell. These eyes measure, survey, sense rather than see things as one sees them. His gaze, so loving, sweet, full of sympathy, pours out a divine compassion which relieves and consoles the miserable and agonizing earth that is trying to free itself from the clutches of anti-divine and hostile forces. There is in his eyes the love that transfigures, the light that gives life, the energy which is released to protect, and the power to bless, to sustain, and to help in the progress. Our Divine Mother says, I do a lot of things with my eyes. Simultaneously, there are several actions that are being carried out. By this look, I can transfix someone so that he does not deviate from the path, so that he speaks only the truth, so that he submits himself and does not revolt, so that he collaborates with me. If I want, I can hypnotize him so that he comes out of his negative tendencies, but I do not do that. I can communicate by subtle means to see the soul of the person, the veiled aspiration of his nature, the subtle bodies which accompany him, the aura which protects him as concretely as I see you now. I see all that goes on in the atmosphere, in nature, all around, which people do not see. Our Divine Mother says, my gaze, which passes beyond, penetrates and sees into the very depth of things, brooks no obstruction or barrier. It sees the atoms and molecules in their detailed functioning. This gauge that extends till infinity, protects eternity in its vision, contemplates immortality in its sight. This infallible look descends by a silent contact and awakens the secret power which resides in the depths of the inconscience of the being, which sleeps in eternity. The past, the present, and the future accompany the person to announce the possibility of his realization and the progress he is capable of making in his terrestrial existence. In a single glance, I see them before me, and his past, his immediate present, with the promise of his future, are revealed to me. And if I find him interesting and capable, he becomes a part of my consciousness and accompanies me in his quest towards the truth. In this way, I see many things simultaneously, and nothing escapes my view, whether it is visible or invisible. All this unfolds itself in front of me and is projected in the terrestrial atmosphere only when I consent and give the order. I ignore many things which want to manifest, and I assign nature to make her own choice, and she has her impeccable way of bringing out in this universe all that wants to evolve. But when I see some things which want to transform themselves, I hasten their evolution. Our Divine Mother says, each of my eyes works independently. One projects itself in the infinite to discover the future, and the other scrutinizes, sees, looks, surveys, explores, and arranges so that nothing escapes its vision, in order to contemplate and to extend the grace. In a single glance, I know the history of the person who is before me, all the elements which constitute his being, all the moments of his thought, his impulse, his activity, his attitude, his aspiration, his development, his possibility, all that governs his life, I know in an instant, in a flash of time. For me, this does not take time because his soul and his aura with his subtle body unfold and spread the consciousness wide open in front of me so that I may see them as clearly as possible. I do not examine them, but on his own, he tells me everything that I want to know about him. It is interesting that those who know me a little perceive how one of my eyes overflows with love, spreads light, charges, and illumines the atmosphere with a divine joy, expresses the supraconscious, changes and witnesses the course of events and circumstances, brings peace, and hastens the divine manifestation upon earth. How this gaze moves further and further and disappears in the eternity of time and space. Whereas the other eye, One concentrates and sees that all that goes on inside as well as outside, judges and measures the value of the person, his attitude, and of course his possibility of realization, and according to his capacities, pours a bit of love, light, peace, and power to prepare him so as to communicate with his soul. That is how I communicate with his soul. You understand? It is my gaze which sees, prepares the instrument, then consents to bless in order to pour the divine love. In a glance, I do all this. You know, my eyes reflect the soul, bring forth all the qualities of the soul in its divine purity. They are transparent, lucid, they radiate light and joy. They are filled with compassion, kindness, charged with a sweetness and a benevolence that spreads all around to bless and comfort creatures and men. You see, it is very difficult to fathom the depth and measure the vastness of this look, full of the immeasurable wisdom which sees the soul. These eyes, which shine with the transparency of a pure crystal, seize and inflame the hearts, burn and consume all the imperfections, dispel and get rid of falsehood, ignorance, and so many other evils of the world, as well as hatred and pain, that it is impossible to measure. It cannot be. It surpasses infinity. Not only that, this look radiates and transforms all that it sees, perceives, and touches, and triumphs with an ineffable grace. These eyes, full of love, intensely charged by a sublime presence, illumine the hearts in a clear radiance of their light, and the soul of the person is reflected in the eyes. That is not all. These eyes, which see nothing but the beauty in the world, communicate with and express the supra-terrestrial or supracosmic beauty, have extraordinary powers to bring out beauty in ugliness, transform evil and suffering into divine joy, change ignorance and obscurity into wisdom and light, and unconsciousness into consciousness, says our Divine Mother. To be continued.